Matt Durrette with Cozy Vacation Rentals. Welcome to the Patrick Real Estate Show. I feel like we've scheduled this far out. You were doing you just mentioned before the show, you were doing a lot of things when it comes to just completely rebranding and building new systems for your business for this next period of growth that you're having. But so far, you've accomplished a lot. For the people that don't know who Matt Durrette is, he is the CEO and founder of Cozy Vacation Rentals. He scaled upwards to 350 properties. A majority of them, I believe, are in Texas Hill Country.
Correct.
And yeah, he's been doing this for a very long time. He's known most specifically for understanding how systems work and how to build a company through the EOS implementation and other ways of organizing your systems for growth. And I think it's really important for people when they're in this business to focus on, and I tell this to all my clients all the time, is to always focus on revenue making activities for my clients. And if I'm not focusing on making revenue for my clients, then I shouldn't be doing that task. I shouldn't be cleaning. I shouldn't be doing maintenance, whatever. But also, your team also has to be incredible to be able to deliver the highest level of service and hospitality. But without further ado, Matt, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Patrick. Thanks for having me. I was looking forward to this. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. I want to know a little bit. Let's do a little history, right? What was Matt doing before he got into vacation rental management?
Yes, I started getting into vacation rental management as a co-host in 2013, but during that same time, I was working as a financial analyst for a defense and aerospace company called Northrop Grumman, and I was in the DC area, like an intern, rotation program. And then after I graduated from college in Virginia, went into the rotation program in DC, got placed into Baltimore, Maryland, and Baltimore, Maryland is what actually got started co-hosting in 2013 and renting out not only my bedroom when I traveled, but then getting other clients to co-host their property, and did that. And I was still growing the business and working for Northrop for about 6 years from 2013 to 2019, and going to grad school, co-hosting up to over 120 units up and down the East Coast and working full time. So it was a great time, stressful time, and what you can't see is my hat hides the bald head where I lost a lot of hair during that time and knew we had to put a lot of systems in place.
So you've been doing this since 2014-ish, and what made you want to start co-hosting for other people? You just saw a need for it, and you saw that it was just people not doing it correctly?
Yes, I've always owned my own, somehow small businesses. When I look all the way back, even starting in 7th grade, I got suspended from school for a week because I was burning CDs, and I sold over $5,000 in CDs. And to people in school, I had my own textbook selling business throughout college. And I've always just done something and really enjoyed figuring out my own way to earn income. And I always knew I wanted to start my own business somewhere. I just never found the niche or never found something that stuck. And when I went to Austin, Texas for South by Southwest, and that was my first experience in 2012 of staying at an Airbnb property for the first time. And some call it a weakness. I see it as a strength. Whenever I walk into any business or anything, I'm always like, how can this be more efficient? How can we do this better? I'm looking around, and I'm seeing this guy's property we're staying in. We're renting an Airstream, my buddy and I, and it's the only place we could find that wasn't super expensive. And he had 20 Airstreams across the property. There was over 100 people camping there. He had 6 cabins, and I knew what I paid per night, and I immediately just did the math in my head across the board. I was like, this is an incredible opportunity. And I was traveling about 2 weeks out of the year every year. And I said, I'm going to put my room up for rent. Why not? And then my room was actually making in 2 weeks more than what my rent was in Baltimore, Maryland. And that's when the light bulb clicked, is how can I start co-hosting and doing this more across the board? But really, how can you actually provide a great experience to the guest related to the 5-star reviews is what it comes down to.
Matt, you know who the type of person you are? I'm just going to take a guess. You walk into Disneyland, and instead of thinking, wow, this is so cool, this is so much fun, you're probably calculating in your head, how much money are they making per day?
Pretty much. Pretty much that's me.
You know that, right?
Yeah.
So that's how my brain works too, so that's funny. So, yeah, okay, so you got into, this was like a side hustle thing that 120 units, it's embarrassing considering I'm doing 120 units and it's definitely not a side hustle. I don't know how you did that, but Congrats. Did you have any systems at that point?
So at the first 2 to 3 years, not really many systems. It was just my now wife and my girlfriend back then, where we suddenly, Airbnb came out with their co-hosting program back in 2013, and they were actually advertising me and my profile to all these other homeowners around Baltimore. And so quickly we went from about 5 units organically that I found to growing into 30 overnight. And we were doing all of our checklists, everything we knew how to do at the first 5 units, but it wasn't, when you go from 5 to 30, there was no systems. We were trying to do everything ourselves, contracting on everything, and we immediately knew, I've got to get a team. I've got to start building a team around me. And that was the hardest part, is everything was starting to fall apart at 30 units. And that's when I was like, we've got to start getting some systems in place. And so it wasn't until we hit about the 30 to 40 unit mark until we started implementing all the right processes, procedures, and hiring the right team. And then that just continued to evolve. And when you're at 40, when you go to 60 to 90, everything changes, and the economies of scale don't change, though, based upon hiring and salaries and things like that. So that's where it starts to get really difficult for people at that scaling.
Fixed cost.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm curious, like, obviously you have to make that investment. I feel like that number is somewhere around 25, 30. I hear that a lot. That's really where you have to make the decision between going a solopreneur route to, okay, you're hiring out talent to get other people to do certain things that allows you to free up your time. Now, when you're at that point, what's the first hire, and how do you visualize that?
For me, I looked at, where am I spending my majority of my time? What is the most time that I'm spending, and where it was with the customer, with the guests. The homeowners is not as much time. You want to be able to provide a great experience to your homeowners in the long run when you have a significant number of units. In the very beginning, you can really handle that in that homeowner relationship, and that's, I think, part of what everybody's secret sauce is, their ability to have a great relationship with their homeowners. So I didn't want to remove that. But it really came down to the guest. If you think about the 24/7 platform messages, text messages, emails, the numerous things that go in with that. So I knew I needed to bring on, one, an assistant was key for me to manage and help in my time, but two, bringing on the right people from a customer service perspective and guest hospitality perspective to take on that bulk, because that's where I was spending most of my time. So my first hire was an assistant. And then my next 2 hires were 2 guest hospitality reps who were responsible for all the phone calls, emails, platform messages, etc. And my assistant was responsible for building out all the listings and doing all those things, managing my inbox, my schedule. But as soon as I made those hires, my time and the investment you have to make in the short term is significant training, the processes, and making sure they're going through the day-to-day of what to do. Once you get through that hump and the training hump and you found those right people, my time was then able to be free to then go and, okay, I can now be at a scale to now go get some more homeowners. And we had everything even back then in 2015, 2016 on autopilot with scheduling and things like that, and smart locks. We were very ahead of the time of doing that and all the Z-Wave. So it wasn't, guests getting the property was an issue, scheduling on the cleans and paying out was an issue. The issue was truly servicing the customer and having people focus on them 24/7.
Got it. What about the homeowners, taking care of the homes? Was that ever an issue for you guys?
It was once when we were trying to do it all by ourselves up to 30 units. Back in the day, they're called Turno now, but they were called Turnover B&B was their original name. We were one of their very first clients, and I would say that software back then was way ahead of its time in terms of being able to schedule, to automate all the scheduling, with all the different cleaning partners. We hired employees who were cleaners, we hired some contractors. That software really managed all of our operations from maintenance to cleaning. It paid out every cleaner. That was a very simple software to use and way ahead of its time. So we got way ahead on that, where it allowed me time to focus on the homeowner relationship. It allowed me time to focus on the financials of the business. It allowed me time to focus on homeowner statements, owner newsletters, reach out, calling homeowners, just checking on them. So I really focused, until we got to about up to 100 unit, my time and focus was always on homeowners. That's where I spent all of my time, new business and current relationships. Awesome.
Yeah, I think that's a really good use of your time, because then if you're not checking on your homeowners or you're not getting new homeowners, then you don't really have a business. Retention and growth is like the 2 biggest things. And I know Steve Schwab says this retention is the killer of all profits. I totally resonate with that. Now, I'm curious, obviously, as you're growing, and time has been changing since back then. Let's say in 2013, at least from my experience, what I've seen 2013, 2014 versus now, it's been completely different. I used to work at Avance, and I was a product manager there. And I saw how the systems were back then. Like Guesty was just getting on the scene to try to gobble up all these big operators and trying to show themselves. And we were using Streamline at the time. And it was honestly, the tech now is miles ahead better than what it was in 2019. And I can only imagine 2013, 2014. How's your experience been with adopting new tech and the shift of vacation rentals and the money being poured into vacation rentals through VCs and all these other investment avenues?
Yeah, it's been a while. The software, people just don't understand how seamless it's really gotten. And for those folks that are truly frustrated with their PMS or their tech stack, the right solutions are out there that work. You got to find the right solutions for you, and you need a company who's thinking about the future while actually who has a product that works. Because we were in just Airbnb and VRBO for about 2 years, and then our first PMS we ever got was called One Rooftop. They don't exist anymore. They were the first partner ever granted a full two-way integration with Airbnb.
Oh, wow.
And that was in 2015, and just trying to learn all of that, and did not work well. A lot of things weren't right. They launched their product way too soon, but we jumped to it because it was the first PMS that had a two-way integration with Airbnb. And then about a year later, we launched with Cyrus. They're out of Florida. It was a great product then. They just never evolved. But we were on Cyrus until 2020. And I would say from 2016 though to 2020, just that switch, just right before COVID, things started to get pretty advanced. The smart locks were most of them were Z-Wave or things like that. You could code things into it, but smart locks weren't integrated into a PMS. They weren't integrated into most platforms. And then we made a decision, as we were scaling so quickly, we knew Cyrus wasn't going to be our growth plan. And so we moved into Track, started that in 2020, actually right before COVID. And being able to have a system like Track worked extremely well. Everything was integrated. You really started to get where everything from cleaning to maintenance to smart locks, every aspect of your true turnkey rental process was in one software. You're not having to go to all these third-party applications prior. Everything went from all of these third-party applications into a true system. And that's, for us, that was a game changer from a scalability perspective. And the industry just got there, and then COVID brought so much innovation. That's when so much VC money came into play. Yes, people got bought out, Track got bought out, other companies got bought out in private equity. Some of the innovation got killed, but at the same time, so much innovation came into the industry, and we're seeing today those advancements in the industry of like true unified connection. We don't have an issue. If people still have an issue for guests getting into a property, it just doesn't make any sense. Everything has to work. You got to find the right hardware, the right tech partners, the right cleaning software. And as I was just telling you before the meeting, we actually just went through an entire overhaul. We have moved now away from Track actually into Guesty. So we just launched through Guesty. We built our own cleaning and maintenance solution that was integrated into Track. And going into Guesty, we could have rebuilt it, but everything was done on the Track API. But we did the cost analysis. We chose to go with Breezeway for all of our operations software. We're with Point Central for all of our hardware. And everything's under one seamless dashboard. And the true unification of Guesty is just incredible. And so we're only 4 weeks live on the platform, but it's already night and day. And they seem to be one of the top PMSs in the market that is actually investing towards not only what they've invested in, but towards the future and looking at where the industry is actually heading over the next 5 years.
So let me ask you this, because this is like the number one question, or obviously like what PMS to use, right? Is the number one question. But then the second question is, how hard is it to transfer from one PMS to another? And you've done it 4 times, so you got to let us know.
I never ever want to do it ever again. It is that difficult because when we started transferring, we're at 343 units. We're at over 360 or something today. And if you think about going in from Cyrus to Track was extremely difficult, and I would say the industry has changed where there's so much tech and automation now built to help with the transfers of all the data from system to system. Back then, we were writing scripts and doing automations. We were building manually to try to extract as much data as possible. You've got people at Track who it was still a good onboarding experience, but going into new software, one little filter that is selected wrong has the most dramatic waterfall effect, all the way down to a homeowner statement, to a guest check-in, to how your taxes and your fees are being reported. It was a nightmare. And we learned the hard way with Track. And I think a lot of it was our fault going live with Track because we didn't know what we didn't know going into new software and the dramatic impacts of where the industry got to. And this time we were extremely well prepared, and we went off without a hitch with Guesty. But you have to know your business inside and out. I mean, down to every integral level, and you've got to have the right team and bringing on the right project manager to lead that project. And a lot of it also comes down to, people don't leave great companies, they leave a boss at a company because they don't like who they work for typically. Same thing as when you're dealing with a vendor or a software company, a lot of times you leave that software company because you're not getting the support you need. And Guesty gave us immense support, gave us some incredible people who onboarded us. And overall, it went off without a hitch, but there's always minor little things that have a waterfall. Right now, I just got out of a meeting prior to getting on this podcast where we've integrated into Vrbo, but out of the last 4 weeks, there's 50 reservations that have come in from Vrbo that all the payments and everything's completely incorrect. 5 came through with the wrong payment amounts. There were it shows a guest paid, but nothing was actually paid or collected. And so it's those little things that you've got to be open to that are going to happen. And it's not a Guesty issue, it's not a VRBO issue, it's just...
You didn't select something specifically.
You just didn't select something specific, and you just got to be open. Yeah, you just got to be open to solving those challenges and continuing to have your onboarding meetings for months in advance after software go live. But in the grand scheme, this was very smooth, but it's a ton of work. We started this project beginning of May, weekly meetings, sometimes double meetings on top of what we have to do for running the business, not only my whole leadership team and exec team, but all the way down to each department level and the product managers, etc. It was immense of work, and there's probably 17 people in our company who were extremely involved with going from the unit size we're at to the next unit size. And you think about all the data, think about all the financial history from years. We want to keep all the financial history last 7 years at a minimum from an auditing perspective. Homeowners want all their financial data, just that in itself. But tying it back to technology, Guesty had the technology and we wrote it ourselves to partner with them, where we had over 15,500 documents to upload into all of the owner portals from all the historic data.
Wow.
And you can either do that manually, or they already are ahead of that where there's already an automation where it just does it like that. And it takes time, but we don't actually have to go through and manually upload 15,000 types of things. That's where the technology has gotten pretty impressive from people switching from one PMS to another, and what the ability is to do to make that a pretty somewhat seamless experience. But we don't sell a cup of coffee in our space. But when you think about all the vendors and maintenance and work orders and tickets and all the platform history of messages, it's just an immense amount of data that you have to take from one system to another. And is it actually presenting itself correctly in a new database and system? So overall, short story short, it was a great experience, but you need to be very prepared. You need to be having several conversations with your team. And this was a year in planning of who are we going to go with? Are we going to make a switch? And then when we chose to do it, who are we going to go with? But is everyone prepared? And what's the project plan? Is everyone bought in? Because it's the hardest thing we've ever done as an entire company. It was the last 90 days.
Wow. So that's a big overhaul of a system. Are there other systems you've adopted since?
Yeah, so at the same time, We launched Guesty. We launched Breezeway.
Might as well make it more difficult, right?
Yeah, and
you're already in the hole.
Yeah, we had to do all this at the same time because there's no other. And we went from our whole call center solution is called Track Pulse. Track built that product. That was an amazing solution. We were sad to leave that solution, but we had to go into AirCall. So a software called AirCall, which is integrated back in through HubSpot, and one of the only little pieces that Guesty isn't there yet that they'll have live in Q1 or Q2 of 2026 is their call center solution, and which will be fully integrated into the product. And so for those of you on Guesty, you know that you can only get text messages, emails, platform messages, etc. in the unified inbox. You can't take phone calls. And so that was a whole learning curve for our team, because if a guest called into Track Pulse, the folio just popped right up. You knew exactly who the customer was, where they're staying. You knew all this data by just the phone ringing, which was extremely helpful for
really
our process
nice.
and our systems. That's one thing we actually had to take a step back on. But we see the opportunity towards the future of where they're going, and so we took that as we know we're taking a step back, we're going to be able to take 2 steps forward. But we had to launch AirCall, we had to rebuild HubSpot. We use HubSpot as a CRM for our homeowner management, but then we had to take in all of the guest data contacts, and we were just at the Guest Eval conference in Mexico City, and they just launched the HubSpot guest data integration, which is actually super helpful. So now with HubSpot integrated, you can see all those things. But then we went through an entire rebrand, brand new company website, and the rebrand, we're about 95% there. There's a few little things that are holding us up from a technical perspective with Google, but with the whole new website we built with IC&D, and we've done an immense amount of projects to prepare us for what our plans are for the future and the growth we have coming in. And we had to make this change now, or we would be staying at about a 300 unit company.
Dang. So what's your tech stack look like today? Just to really see the full picture.
Yeah, so obviously Guesty, full turnkey solution for everything related to PMS. We use Point Central that's integrated in for all of our smart lock automation. We use Beyond Pricing for all of our pricing and revenue management. We use Breezeway for all of our maintenance and operations, laundry, tickets, etc. HubSpot is our CRM for our homeowners. Guesty they are in development of a CRM to manage homeowners. So we want to bring in all of our homeowners and all of our guest communications into one system. PMSs have always been guest focused, and it blows my mind that not a single PMS is homeowner focused. And so, yes, they have owner portals, and yes, they have messaging back and forth to owners. Extremely hard to track. There's extremely hard to trace all the conversations in a unified inbox. They say that's coming. Our phone solution is AirCall. I'm trying to think what else we use. Obviously Slack. A lot of that's integrated now into Guesty. And then we also, the one tool that people overlook, and it's our most important tool in the entire company, is called 90.io. And that is our EOS management system, which stands for the Entrepreneurial Operating System. It's just a complete theory driven down into principles and step-by-step guides on how to run and manage an operations company. EOS has been an incredible tool that helps you manage very high-level and operational logistic businesses. But EOS model is all built into 90.io. In 90.io, it runs every single company meeting. It runs all of our tasking. It runs all of our 10-year plan, 3-year plan, 1-year plan, all of our values. Everything is built in there where the entire company knows what we're working on, where we're going, and where we're headed. And I would say that's our most important tech stack, that is actually, it's organizational, like science related, and it runs the day-to-day of the company and keeps the pulse and culture and the rhythm going for the whole business. That isn't connected to any PMS, that isn't connected to any guest, homeowner, etc. But it's probably our most important piece of software.
Interesting. This is the first time hearing that there's a software for EOS implementation. Maybe that's the one big thing I wanted to talk to you about, because I do think that it's interesting, is let's talk about EOS implementation. What kind of things have you seen? How has it evolved? Maybe walk me through a little bit on what that looks like for vacation rental management industry.
Yeah, so for a lot of my mentors, I got to thank Brooke Fouts at Ventori, and Brooke he's a big believer in EOS, and we were at about 150 homes or so, and we things were working great, but we're playing whack-a-mole. We're just, problems come up, we're solving them, and we were using a task management system back then for tasking. We had that built through Track, but no formal way of actually like, how are we tracking these tasks? How are we tracking our company goals? How are we setting the vision for the next year and for the team to follow all of our 90-day sprints into the 1-year vision every year? And started learning about EOS. There's so many ways to operate a business. I mean, EOS is just another framework among many of frameworks, but it actually works. It's literally a detailed plan on exactly how to run and operate your business and the structure that goes into it. And we implemented it, went down the process in 2021. And you can do what's called self-implementation, where you create a leadership team, you read some of the first books, you get bought into the framework, you get everyone bought into this is what we're going to implement as like an organizational structure of the entire business. And that's really good if you don't have the capital to invest into someone to help you implement. But the negatives of it is we all know how sidetracked we can get as not only as a leadership team, but as just human beings in our nature, where stuff pops up and you don't stay structured as much as you should. And when you bring in a third party to implement it, yes, it's expensive, but it keeps you on track, it keeps you accountable, and it actually drives the team from an unbiased third party who is being paid to ensure that it's implemented correctly across your business. And it's about a 2-year process from start 1 of implementation to the very end until when you graduate from like the EOS program. And so we went down that process, and it's the most eye-opening thing. And talking with the consultant, she's been incredible. She's been a mentor of mine. Her name is Amy Johansson. She's out of Dallas, Texas, and she's our EOS implementer. And meeting with her in the very beginning, she said, just know how this process goes. The leadership team you have now, you're going to find out over the next quarter if they're the right people actually that want to be here, if they're the right people that are bought into your mission, and are they the right people, and are they in the right seats? And you're gonna see your entire leadership team change over the next year. And I'm sitting there thinking, oh, I got the best team in the world. That's not possible. That wow. Every single person on that original leadership team does not work for me anymore.
Whoa, okay, that's crazy.
And because EOS sets up accountability, it sets up all the right metrics, it sets up all the right scoring, it allows you to know if someone A is bought in, and B, are they being successful or not. They're not telling you what you want to hear, it's all proven by the result. And within a year, it was like, wow, this team is not going to get us from point A to point B. They've gotten us to B, but they're not going to get us to A. Rebuilt the whole leadership team, and that team got us to about 150 to about 300 units. And then we started to realize we hit another ceiling. 2 of the people that were on that leadership team that I've rebuilt of 5, they were no longer with us. We have 2 new people on the leadership team since then, and we finally have not only the right executive team, the right leadership team, but when you instill that framework throughout the entire company, everyone from our cleaners all the way up to myself is in the EOS format, running on those. Everyone knows what their metrics are. They know exactly what their goals are. And EOS is done where you set your year goal, you meet every 90 days, and you set every 90-day goals. And they know every 90 days what their goals are, what they're supposed to be working on, what the mission is across the company, and where we're all going. And that's across from a cleaner. A cleaner knows exactly what I'm working on. Same as a maintenance tech. If you look at like our org chart from the lowest bottom of it, they know exactly where we're going, what they're doing, and they know exactly what their core goal is for the company. And you bring in an EOS consultant. Every quarter we bring in Amy, even though we've already graduated from the program, we bring her in to run our 90-day meetings and to run our 2-day annual offsite where we set our year goal, and then we set what every 90-day goal is that maps back to our year plan. And it's what keeps you on target. After 90 days, every company is starting to get off track again. Once we get to like week 13, we can tell we've already completed our rocks, what they're called. You set your goals and rocks for the objective. We've already completed that. Everyone's already done it. We've got a 95% success rate on completing all of our objectives over the last 2 years, every single quarter. But then you start to see people, you just get a little haywire if you don't have a concrete plan every 90 days. And it's It's very hard to explain, I would say, but it's the most effective thing that I've ever done as a business owner in terms of implementing any type of tech stack or process, and it takes so much time. It's the hardest thing to do, but it's been an absolute game changer for our entire company and our business.
Yeah, when you talk about that's so true that there are times where the explanation that you just gave of the person that read the book and applied it themselves with that in ChatGPT, that's me.
Yeah.
So that's currently where we're at. So I 100% agree with you. Like, we are following it half-ass almost, where we are, like, it has proven really good. Like, at least I'm happy for it, because even half-ass is awesome. Like, it's been great. Like, I'm seeing every week what our, like, Airbnb reviews are coming in at, or what the reviews on Google. And so, like, I'm tracking all these metrics that allow me to really see how we're doing as a company so we can pivot faster, which is really cool, because then we can, we should do something for maybe guest experience, because I do think this is like a common thread we've analyzed through AI, that's a common thing that people are like, like they wish this was a little bit better, or whatever the case may be. It just gives us feedback a lot faster, the feedback loop, which allows us to make changes quicker. Now, going to the EOS system, what are some of the, maybe you can, and obviously every business is different, but can you give us some examples of what metrics you're tracking? Like, I know the scorecard, like, I'm curious if because I know that one of the challenges that I've seen is on the scorecard, and other people probably have seen this too, is it's hard to track a lot of the things in our business, right? There's reviews. It's okay, cool. Now, how do you track? I think it's one thing to have metrics, it's another thing to track them. So how do you guys ensure an organization of tracking metrics?
Yes, if you're measuring, and we've been in this problem before, and we got really good at this about a year and a half ago. You can't measure, if you measure everything, you measure nothing. And so you've got to get very specific about what you want to manage and what metrics you want to track. And that's broken out by teams. My leadership team metrics that everyone reports in, that we review as a leadership team every single week. And right when we get off this podcast, we go right into our weekly L10 as a leadership team at 11 a.m. Central. And you want to make sure it's very specific to the key people that are in that room, and that everything boils up to, at the very grand scheme, at a leadership team level. Because what's tracked in our organization is, I'm the integrator and the CEO, so technically the visionary and the integrator. I'm acting in actually those two capacities for the last year.
You are an integrator and a visionary?
Yep.
Are you a rare breed?
A rare breed. I didn't ever want to I had an integrator. It showed that it wasn't working out, and so we pivoted, and I've been doing the integrator role for about the last year, and ultimately we'll get to a point where I'll need to bring that person in. But the company's been doing so well, and I've learned to love it. But at the same time, I don't put control. Like, my executive team knows what their goals are, and they're autonomous to achieve those goals. I'm not a micromanager. That's not how I operate. But I'm able to really understand and still get a very good pulse in the integrator role of actually what's going on in the business, and able to help pivot and provide that coaching and experience. But we have 3 departments, which is our revenue department, which, all revenue management, marketing, business development. Then we have our CFO, which is all the finance and accounting and controlling is done under that. And then we have our operations department. And so those are the 3 departments, and under finance is HR as well.
Yes, so finance department, revenue department. Are those 2 different things? One's recording.
Yeah, so revenue is all about driving revenue for our homeowners, making money for our homeowners, marketing, adding new homes, listings, integrations, all of the pricing, the strategy, everything's done through that whole department. And then we have the finance department that's all P&Ls, forecasts, budgets, cash flow, owner statements, AP, AR, HR. And then we have operations, which is all property managers, maintenance, etc., laundry, cleaning.
Operations the biggest department?
It is. Oh, by far. It's
far.
By far. You've got to have the right people in place operationally to provide a great service. And each one of them, you've got to make it, on your scorecard at leadership team level, you don't want any more than 15 max, which I believe is still a lot, more, but you would need a minimum of 5. But in the My90 software, each department head on my executive team, they have 3 to 5 max metrics, and that what in the business all flows up there to let us know that we're running a healthy business, and we truly make it simple. Yeah, we came up with all these really difficult metrics. It's hard to go find that data and pull it every week, and we've been down that route. And when you have 5 to 10 metrics per person, how can you actually report on that, but actually make incremental change? And so when you look at from the revenue side, it's just very simple. What's our churn rate? So we're tracking what our churn rate is from homes leaving our portfolio to staying in our portfolio. What's our occupancy rate? What's our ADR? What's our direct booking percentage? And what is our return on ad spend? And so those are the key things, revenue. When it comes to operations, what is our guest review score on Airbnb? And what's our guest review score on everything else? And then for operations, what is our homeowner satisfaction score? And then what is our inspector quality rating score? That's it for operations. And so that's the only thing we're tracking operationally to make it very simple. And then finance is what is our close days? And that's a monthly metric, is how many days did it take to close? What does our cash flow forecast look like for the next 13 weeks facing ahead? What is our weekly profit? How much money did we make per week? And then what percentage are we at from expenses to budget? And all real simple things that each person can report on weekly, that we can gauge the health of the business, that everything tracks up to that. When you get down to the operations department, right, that's where they need to know operationally not only their review score is, but how many billable hours did maintenance techs do? How many lawns were cut? How many inspections occurred by person? And that's where you flow that down into the other areas of the company and vice versa into other departments. But we just want to make it very simple, and those are all extremely simple. Hey, if ADR is not up, what lever can we pull? Are we in a season? Is the economy this? What lever can we pull to increase that? If reviews are down, what lever can we pull to increase that? If we didn't close our financial books and our goal 10 days or less, what caused that and why? Because if we don't get our books in 10 days, how can we make quick decisions? It's just real small things that touch the whole business from a leadership team perspective, and we just made it very simple and basic.
Wow. So let me ask you on, for instance, ops, how do you measure homeowners' satisfaction score? Is that like a...
Yeah, just 2 questions. So simple 2 questions for an owner satisfaction survey that goes out to homeowners. And first questions, would you recommend us to a family, friend, or business associate to use our management services? So would they recommend us to someone else? It's just 1 out of 5. And then how are we performing up to your expectation as a management company for your asset this month? So every month it's a monthly survey, and it's just a 1 through 5 score. And obviously they're taking the time. The hard thing that people have to overcome is people hate to take surveys. So it's just 2 simple questions, and then our team is not only texting them, they're emailing out the survey. Hey, friendly miner, mass text, we'd really appreciate if you take our survey. It really helps us improve the quality here and to know if we're doing our job on your behalf and providing you value. And so those are the 2 simple questions that come in. Are they going to recommend us? If so, then we know that they're happy with us. And then are they satisfied this month? Because months change. Is there something that happened in the last month? And if it's a 3, they're going to get a call like that. If it's a 4, it's going to get a call. Anything below a 5, they're going to get a call from our homeowner relations team. But what could we be doing better? And that goes all right back into the EOS framework of tasking, tracking of, hey, this homeowner is upset about this, or this homeowner wasn't satisfied with the communication that happened here, and then how can we make it right? Letting them know that we're on top of it.
That's really smart. What do you guys do for retention?
Yeah, so for retention,
maintaining the best scores, yeah.
So going into last year, we actually cut about the bottom 10% of our portfolio. So we actually got rid of about 25 properties. We're only focusing on the right homeowners, the right homes, the right amenities, and I'm sure the industry is all about experiences, and it's all about amenities. People Don't just go rent a house anymore that is nice on the inside but has nothing for them to do or experience at the home. So that's what we're big and focused on now. And the key thing is ensuring, one, you have the right revenue strategy and plan for that specific home. As we know, a 4-bedroom side-by-side can perform vastly different. And you got to make sure to have the right revenue management strategy. You've got to make sure that you have the right revenue management team, and you've got to have the right homeowner relations team. And not only we do monthly webinars, we do monthly updates, we do all of the marketing, all of the homeowner newsletters, all those things that you should be doing, but we do proactive outreach. And so just texting a homeowner, just calling them, and simply tracking it. When it's a homeowner's birthday, we're sending them gifts. When it's a homeowner's, if they've been in our portfolio, if it's their year anniversary, we're sending them a gift. If it's their second year anniversary, we're sending them a gift. And the biggest thing that's made the biggest impact for us is we throw an annual homeowners party. And so we throw a giant celebration. We've done it for 3 years running. And we have over 150 to 200 homeowners who come every year. And we rent out one of these wineries. It's all you can drink, all you can eat. And we just have a celebration event for them. And a lot of people were always, oh, aren't you scared of homeowners getting together and like talking? And so, you know what? No, I'm not. What are we? A, there's nothing to hide. B, if we can build a community, like that's huge. If we can build like-minded homeowners and investors and people together and start building those relationships, it's going to make them successful. In turn, makes us successful. So we do a lot and put a lot of effort there. But we always feel like what else can we keep doing for our homeowners? And while guests are so important, our model is if you don't have the right homes, the right homeowners, you're not going to be making any money to afford employees. If you don't have employees, how can you service the guests? And so we're putting a ton of investment into continuous, like how can we be better with our homeowners? And while yes, we manage 350 properties, how can we still manage that homeowner as if it was me managing 5 homes?
Yeah, I love that. Access to networking events. I think we've heard, or like a mixture like that, to be able to connect with other like-minded people that are also invested in that area, so they have probably similar interests in some facets. And it could be a lot of connections that are made that could blossom into investments or other things that everyone would benefit from. So I definitely see the value there. What kind of gifts do you guys give? Do you guys go all out and get like something nice? Do you guys have something, like I'm curious, like a little chocolate or like,
no,
what's that look like?
Make it authentic from where you are in your market, in the state that you're in. As an example, like our annual Christmas gift to homeowners, we found this place that is in East Texas. It's called Palestine. The town's called Palestine, Texas. And there is a lady there that they're one of the top bakeries in the state for pecan pies. And our market is wine, peaches, and pecans. And so we shipped these authentic homemade pecan pies to every single homeowner that we had. And our inbox got blown away with photos, like thanking us for pecan pie, people like posting about us on LinkedIn but it's just something authentic. And then for your 1-year anniversary with us, it's going to be a giant, just like welcome pack of pecans and peaches and wine if we're able to ship it to the homeowner, and stuff from our market that makes our market special and reminds them of where they own a home, and it reminds them of true Texas hospitality. And so I encourage you, wherever you are, what reminds them of, don't just send them a Starbucks gift card. What's an authentic, true gift that's going to make them say, wow, like this company does care about us, we're passionate about that. And especially everyone knows and feels the pressures of the amount of supply that's in the market. Everyone knows that if someone's going to leave your company and go to another competitor, the grass is not green on their side, and they're probably not going to make any amount of the same revenue that they think they're being overpromised and oversold. And sometimes it really matters about the relationship and who's caring for the home. And yes, revenue will speak to the bottom line at the end, but it does come down to, is this company taking care of me and have a best interest for myself and my asset that they're managing?
You couldn't have said it any better. Matt, we're getting close to the end of the hour, but I do wanted to get into the last three questions for you and just tie this up with a nice little bow. This was a great insight, and I feel like this could be a 3-hour podcast, and it should be, because there's so many details that we haven't even touched on. But maybe we'll bring you on for number 2.
Sure, I'd love to.
Yeah, without further ado, what educational resource do you believe was one of the most instrumental for your business or your life?
One, I would say implementing EOS. That was no grad school degree, college degree is going to teach you how to run the day-to-day impacts of your business. 2, our industry, you brought up Steve Schwab, who's a great mentor of mine. I've had the opportunity to be one-on-one with Steve for not only a couple offsites, but just being able the opportunity to speak with him over a couple conference calls. Just reach out to your network. Go to conferences. I cannot stress enough. Don't, like, for instance, like VRMA is coming up in Vegas, Vacation Rental Management Association Vegas. Yeah, it's in Vegas. It's the Caesar's Palace. Hey, all this is great. There's going to be 500 to 1,000 vendors there, and you're going to learn all this new tech stack. Don't spend your time talking to all the vendors unless it's a priority for you. Go and speak to as many business owners as you possibly can that are at your same level or that are at a level above that you want to get to. A 1-hour conversation over a cocktail at the bar with a company owner who's at 300 units and you're at 100, you'll gain more in that hour and that relationship, and everyone is willing to help you in our industry, which is wild because that was not the case where I came from in my past industry. And so I can't stress enough on that, and just constantly stay up to date on industry trends, news articles, etc. But use your network, reach out. Don't be embarrassed to send that email. Don't be embarrassed to send a text to a company owner, etc. They're going to help you, or they're going to guide you in the right direction on who to speak to, and everyone donates their time.
And I just want to do a little shout out. You did donate your time to come on the podcast. I appreciate that, and I'm sure everyone listening appreciates that as well. One question that's like specific to you. Let's say that you came in and let's say you bought a company and it has the same amount of units as you do, but it's complete nightmare. It's the complete opposite. It has none of the systems or operation that you're talking about. Maybe a bare bones systems and operations. What are the first things you would do to make that company? What are the first focus points? The first 30, 60, 90 days, how would you strategize around turning that company around? Because there might be people in a position like that.
Yeah, and we've been eyeing potential acquisition and stuff like that for us to go and acquire other companies. So we have a little bit of a playbook on how we do it. We've talked to other companies on what they would do. One, going in is immediately putting the structure in of the organization. Immediately. What's the structure look like for that new company? How does that look like from a personnel perspective, structuring back into us? Because we would take the same leadership team, obviously, but what does it look like from a structure of that company and the people and the assets that they have and the resources and that human capital personnel? And we would immediately, everyone would take what's called a predictive index test across the whole company, so we would know the science.
What's your predictive index, Matt?
I'm a maverick.
Yeah. I thought you would be a captain, to be honest. So
yeah, I'm almost right there on the captain, and then I'm missing it on a little bit of the detail.
I'm a persuader, by the way.
Nice. Yeah. And
but anyways, go on.
Yeah, that we would immediately want to know who they are, where they work, are they in the right seat? But that structure is critical. We would then go in and, hey guys, here's what we're doing. You want to make sure that every person knows where this acquisition's going, that they're safe. You want to retain that human capital as much as possible. And you also are going to have to get rid of the people who are not bought into you coming in. The next step is you want to be all over the new homeowners. You want to be doing homeowner webinars, education, calling everyone, doing that organic outreach, doing everything possible under the sun. And then 3, ensuring that immediately you have the right revenue management strategy and plan for onboarding all of those units, but then ensuring you have the right price matrix, you have the right strategy, all those systems implemented are the first 3 key things that I would do. Because if you go into a new company and you're going to lose all that human capital and that experience, you're done. And if you don't have the right structure and the people aren't bought into the structure you're setting up, you're done. And if you can't communicate to the homeowners how they're going to be in a better position with you immediately off the bat, you're done. And then if you cannot onboard those homes successfully, you're done. Because then everything else is going to fall on our normal framework and our normal plans of operations and customer service, etc. is what I would do.
Awesome. Thank you. Last question. how can people reach you? How can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, so please look us up. So I know I was introduced as Matt with Cozy Vacation Rentals. We've been Cozy Vacation Rentals since 2016. We just rebranded into Stay Texas Hospitality Group. That'll officially be live October 1st. And so,
well, it's live right now because I
yes.
see your hat on right now.
Yeah,
With the
so it's live. We're going through some complexity with the Google Business migration of trying to get everything fully switched in our primary domains and our Google Business Suite and our IT backend. There's some minor issues that'll be live though, where we'll make the official announcements. You'll see everything where it'll be Stay Texas Hospitality Group on LinkedIn, Stay Texas on Instagram, Stay Texas on Facebook, and our website, staytexas.com. And then would love anyone to reach out to contact me. If you need to get in touch with me, you can email my assistant, Marcella, at staytexas.com. And I'm happy to donate my time and would love to speak with anyone who's learning, looking to grow, et cetera, in the industry.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Matt. Appreciate you and sharing all this information. I'll see you probably at VRMA, right?
Yeah, looking forward to seeing you in person.
Awesome.